Mindset Podcast. This is episode 2. Finally launched it, I guess, last week. But, if y'all have any critiques, let us know in the comments. I want to touch a little bit on that first episode as far as, I want to take full accountability as far as, me sounding, real flat and, kind of looking off the camera and everything like that. But, it was, my first time meeting this guy, so I was, a little bit uncomfortable, I'm sure, he was a little bit nervous never meeting me too, so
a little bit.
I just wanted to, touch on that just in case everybody was like, dude, what the hell is he doing?
That's where are you looking at, man?
That don't even sound like Jason. But
sorry, you just gotta be natural, bro. Charisma, man.
But no, so today we're going to talk a little bit about gender roles and modern dating. But I guess I want to jump straight into it, kind of ask you some questions. You ask me some questions, and we'll kind of bounce off each other's, thoughts and ideas on the questions,
Mm-hmm.
You tell me, what you think, and then I'll kind of give you my synopsis of it and vice versa. But what has been your expectations on the dating scene as far as whenever you meet up with a woman for the first time?
I've kind of learned to not have expectations, to be honest, because I think as guys or as men, when you go on a date, obviously we have an end goal, right? We're attracted to a female, and we want to have sex. It's kind of really the main goal. Men want to have sex with women, and women want to be courted to a certain degree. And I kind of found in my own experience, if you don't go in with expectations and you just have conversations, and the pressure of the end goal of sex is not there, then it's easier to kind of relax and just ask questions and vibe off of each other and kind of feel how the situation is going to play out. Because I think a lot of times you're so focused on the end goal, you say whatever you need to say, do whatever you think she wants you to do to come off attractive, not try to come off desperate. And I think that's ish, kind of, not necessarily simping, but trying to play like you're something you're not. And you put on a facade where I think so much of social media these days and how society is, everything is viewed through a screen and a filter. So what most everybody sees is your best foot forward all the time. So when you're in front of people,
everything comes to light
a little bit. Yeah. Like you can't put a filter on your personality, so to speak. So I think in my experience, just taking the pressure of wanting to get you home and get back to your place or get you back to my place kind of opens things up to just having conversation. And then through conversation, you kind of figure out people's mannerisms, kind of body language, so to speak, the form of communication that isn't verbal.
I think a big part of the communication failure is people have got so dived into their phones now. Everybody just wants to text everything. So people have lost that art of communication, and that's verbally. That's
one of my strong suits, I think, because being my age now, 36, I wasn't raised on social media like a lot of kids are these days. And I was talking about this last night with somebody. We didn't have cell phones back in the day, we do now.
We had dial-up and had to get on AOL Messenger.
Yeah, you had to AOL Messenger, and then somebody couldn't be on the phone, or they'd hear the tones going through. Yeah, they'd hear the tones. So cell phones weren't really a big thing back in the day. I mean, I remember I had the first iPhone, and even still, web pages weren't set up for smaller platform like mobile users.
I think I was already probably 22, 23 before I got my first iPhone.
I was about the same. The first cell phone I had was a Nextel that my mom and dad bought me. I was 18. But nowadays, kids 6, 7, 8 years old are creating Instagrams and having iPads and stuff that was way beyond where we were. So for a majority of my life and conducting myself and growing, you have to learn how to talk to people, and I think it comes with a certain amount of confidence over time, being out there killing things and not killing things figuratively, but being on your purpose, being on your grind, growing as a person and building confidence, knowing how to interact with people, being sure of yourself. And I think so many people today are conditioned to communicate through digital means. You don't know how to carry a conversation in person.
Right.
Because if I was to text you, we could spend an hour texting, and if it was an in-person conversation, might last 5-6 minutes. So then you run into a situation to where it's awkward silence, and you're pulling conversation out of somebody, and it doesn't flow naturally. It's like, if you aren't sure of yourself, especially dealing with females, they're so adept to understanding body language and mannerisms more so than guys are sometimes. And they can sense it when you're not confident, when you're weak to some degree.
Yeah, they're much more intuitive than men.
Yes, a lot more, which is one of the strengths that they have, which is awesome. But for me, I don't really have a lot of expectations, and I usually have a good time going on dates. I can spend 3, 4, 5 hours on a date with somebody, and it doesn't have to be overly sexual. And that's one of the things I actively try to not be, is a whole lot of sexual innuendo when I'm out with somebody.
That's probably came a lot with age and just like growth and learning.
Yeah, because ultimately, kind of where you want it to get to, the purpose of a date, right, is just to see if you can click and mesh with somebody. Like, are you compatible to some degree initially? So for me, I try to approach it just with an open mind, relaxed, and I try not to talk too much. I think I have a lot of interesting things to say, but from a guy's point of view, the date shouldn't be focused on you. You should leave the floor open to them and talk about them, because people love talking about themselves.
Yeah.
And it's actually interesting in doing some research on gender roles and dating dynamics and stuff like that. I came across a Jordan Peterson clip where he had talked about a study that he read from a researcher who did. He took married couples and he monitored their interactions with each other, and I've experienced this, and you probably have too in your own life, but I've never really thought about it to the point of breaking it down to really think about the positives and the negatives of it. But essentially the parameters were, if you're with your girl, they determined relationship success over the longevity from the positive interaction to negative interaction ratio. And he talked about what he found. Women by nature focus more on negative feelings and thoughts than men do, because they're more in tune with their feelings, more in touch with their emotions and whatnot. So a single negative thought for a female could be something small, but they dwell on it, they think about it, they kind of overthink about things.
They're much more emotional than what a man is.
Yes, and then it grows. So when it comes to interactions between the sexes, husband and wife, so to speak, in this instance, a ratio of 5 positive interactions to 1 negative interaction was not enough for a relationship to go the distance. So there wasn't enough positive emotional reinforcement there to every negative.
So you said there was 5 negatives for every 1 positive?
No. So a ratio of 5 positives to 1 negative.
And that still wasn't enough?
Wasn't enough.
Good Lord.
That was on the low end. So it's like, you wake up.
So is it saying there needs to be more negative?
No. The base was,
because 5 to 1 seems like a lot.
5 positive to 1 negative.
Right.
So it's
that seems like a lot of positive versus the negative.
You would think, but you're talking about the span of a day, right? So you wake up with your girl and, hey, good morning, I love you. Could be a positive interaction, right? So, compliments throughout the day. So up to 5 wasn't enough. basically they say that human connection needs more than 5. It went up to 11. So at 11 positive interactions to 1 negative interaction was too much. So at the ends of the spectrum was 5 wasn't enough, that it wasn't fulfilling enough for the relationship to go the distance. But at 11 was too much, almost like you're worshiping somebody, you're simping, so to speak. You know, they can't do anything wrong, and whatever they need, like you're like smothering, I guess would be another way to put it. So it was interesting because you never really think about it, because when you're a guy, you know, you think whatever you see, all the movies and stuff and everything society puts forth for us, it's like, do whatever you can to get the woman's attention and always be there for her and just do extra, always waiting on her hand and foot. And you can't be solely focused on that, because then you have nothing else going on that you're worried about.
I think a lot of women like kind of enjoy the chase of it too, though. You know what I mean? Like
men and women do.
If you're constantly like, you know, giving her admiration and all this other stuff, like she's just like, okay, this is gross.
So essentially what they found was that at both ends, 5 and 11 wasn't enough and was too much. So there was an in-between between 6 and 10. So between 6 and 10 positive interactions to 1 negative emotion is like a healthy dose for longevity of a relationship. So, I mean, even like you come home from the gym and you know your girl, like, oh, you're looking really good. Like just something small, but a positive compliment. Like, because people in general, by and large, they remember how you made them feel more so than anything. Like if you meet somebody for the first time and you give them a great compliment and you make them feel good about themselves, it might be something small and insignificant, but they'll remember when they met you how you made them feel about that interaction, and it has lasting effects. And I thought that was interesting because you see it all the time, you know, in people that you know, relationships, dating and stuff. You never really think about it, but having it broken down like that, like life is about balance. And that's one of the things that have been attacked past couple years between men and women is competitiveness between the sexes and getting away from men's strengths, men's weaknesses, women's strengths, and women's weaknesses. You know, there's just certain things that no matter what you try to say, no matter how you try to spin it, just men and women aren't equal in some aspects. And that's okay. The greatest thing about a woman is that she's not a guy.
Yeah.
Just to be completely honest. And it's like, you know, if you have two people that are the same, if men and women are equal, then why do we need each other? Yeah. And that's not how it was created to be. And that's not how you achieve, I guess, I don't even know. I can't even think of the word right now, but it's
fulfillment.
A little bit. Yeah. Yeah, but it's I can't. The word was just on the tip of my tongue, and it's not like just harmony, I guess. Yeah, between the sexes.
Yeah. So, I've heard a few different people say this, but I guess I like it the best the way Dave Chappelle delivered it.
Chappelle's the GOAT, man. I love Chappelle.
But you know, he said chivalry is dead and women killed it.
Did.
And the reason for that is the feminist movement. You know, I've actually witnessed this multiple times, you know, doing it myself. But like, even when you open a door for a woman now, you don't receive a thank you. A lot of times they'll just walk right by you and go in, like, or get in the car or whatever. And it could be anything. Like if you go on a date and I'm not saying that this is everybody, but you know, a lot of women now, like if it's like a boss bitch or a chick that's, you know, got more alpha qualities, like she's gonna want to split the bill with you and everything. But the problem with that is it makes the man feel less, because most men, if you're not a piece of shit, you're gonna want to pay for the meal. I mean, I don't know, what your views are on that. If you like on a first date, if y'all split it or what. But I'm saying for the most part, like if you're like in a relationship I guess it's a little bit different with the dating, but if you're in a relationship, most of the time the man's gonna want to pay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, but no, the whole chivalry is dead thing, like it also comes to women always talking about, they want, a nice guy and all this other stuff. But then when they are nice, they are chivalrous. You don't like that because, you for some reason, like back onto the feminist thing, for some reason, y'all think that's like taking power away from you as a woman. And it makes no sense. No, men are supposed to be the protectors, the providers. We want to do this stuff for you. It's in our nature. It's in our biology. And women have always, throughout history, been the caregivers, taking care of the home, things like that.
And it's interesting too, because whenever you're out in the dating world, and I went on a date one time, beautiful woman, making six figures, and she was very successful very quickly. Was super proud of her. She's about to get her master's, and this was right around the time when I started changing my tactics for dating, getting more into like the manosphere and the red pill space, and so to speak, and trying to figure out what I was doing that wasn't working, and trying to understand, females better than I had previously. And this was
I guarantee a lot of it was, and not saying you are, but a lot of it was probably you were almost being a little simpish, a little bit, just to
yeah. Because when I was married, I kind of was. You fall into the happy wife, happy life fallacy, and you kind of neglect what you want to do and what you need to do and should do for her, and then it ends up kind of on the 11-to-1 ratio, where it's let me do everything I can to make her happy, make her happy, make her happy. It's like, no, women don't respond well to that.
See, the thing is, women need guidance.
It's not a derogatory thing to say, but getting back to this example, let me finish this example. We were out and we had a fantastic date, had brunch that morning, and toward the end of the date, we started talking about her future and her goals and stuff. And she kind of, what do you do for work? And, what are your goals and where do you see yourself going? And I gave her the answers that, I had going on at the time. And then we got back on her, and she told me that she had 4 friends in her group. It was her and 3 other women. Her and another friend were super successful, driven about their careers, about their education, were making really good money, had a lot to offer, brought a lot to the table, that buzz phrase these days, and they couldn't find a guy. And she couldn't understand why. And they had 2 other friends that didn't go to college, that weren't near as successful as they were, but they were married, they had kids. Basically, they had these 2 other friends had what the other 2 friends wanted but couldn't get.
I guarantee it's because the 2 less successful ones had more feminine qualities.
So she's posing this question to me, and she was thinking to herself while talking to me toward the end of the date. And I had never tried it before. And I was like, well, do you want to know why your other 2 friends have husbands and y'all don't? And I was like, you know what? We're going there. I just didn't give a shit no more. It's like, let me see where this is going to go. And she was all, well, yeah, what's going on? And I was like, you make 6 figures a year. You're driven. You're educated. Those are awesome things. And I don't take nothing away from that. But as a man looking for a female, I don't care about that. And most men don't care about that.
Nope.
And the problem that women are running into these days, younger women, is they're waiting to find a mate later in life, in your 30s, typically, after you've gone through college, after you've chased the career, after you've done for yourself, because I don't want to depend on no man. I don't need no man. It's weird because as a man, I can say I need men. I do. And it's such it's the most negative.
Men are men's greatest support system.
Yes, great support system. I mean, you need men to build the iPhones that y'all love to use. You need men to design the clothes that you wear. You need men to build the roads that you drive on, and for all the infrastructure and for the gyms that you go to. Like, men facilitate so many things in society, but when you break it down, I think for the female mind, needing a man is you're less than.
Yeah.
If I need something, I'm less than. I can't do by myself, and that's the connotation that's made with it. And it's not that at all, because if you break it down, you say you don't need men, but if a man attacks you, are you going to call a woman to come help?
No.
No. Never. You're going to call another man to come help.
Exactly.
And not to get too extreme, but this may be controversial, men allow women to have rights, if you really think about it. It sounds crazy. You withdraw at the sound of it, but they do. Like, men write the laws, men protect the laws, men enforce the laws. So, not to say that women haven't and can't and haven't contributed, but men, by and large, protect how society is run and run society. Not to say that women are less, because so much of talking about the sexes, if you say one thing about men, automatically women are less. And then vice versa. So many things about women, men are less. And I think so many people are insecure about what they bring to their personal lives, to lives of others, to society at large. Social media, I think, plays a lot on people's insecurities. And one of the nastiest human emotions is envy. And I think a lot of the breakdown of society and relations towards men and women is envy. And it's like, no matter how strong a woman is, how good a woman is at, say, a sport, she ain't LeBron James.
No, never. No.
And it's not to say women are less, but it's like, if we were totally equal at everything, there wouldn't be women's sports and men's sports.
Well, that's why you see these transgender males going to these women's sports and absolutely dominating.
Yeah.
People don't understand how much, like, actual, like, male makeup versus female makeup really matters, because men have stronger bones. You know, their testosterone gives them, you know, bigger muscles,
stronger ligaments,
exactly,
faster reaction times.
It's just no comparison. And in all honesty, if you look past the media, most women are pissed off about transgenders being in their sports, because it's taken away from them.
Because most people are inundated with the minorities, like Leah Thomas.
Well, that's what the media.
Yeah, they give the bullhorn to the minorities. So you think society as a whole is mirroring this. Like, I had a conversation with somebody one time, and we were talking about the gay rights issue whenever they legalized gay marriage. And I asked her, I was like, what percentage of the population do you think actually identifies as being gay, whether gay men or gay women? And she had a master's degree. She was educated. She was successful. She said like 30, 40%.
Oh, what?
Yeah. Yeah.
What?
Yeah. It blew my mind. I was like, it's maybe 1% of the population.
Yeah. I don't know where she got that
Yeah.
from.
But if you really think about it, like, if you had 40 to 50 or 30 to 40% of gay men and women out here, where are the kids coming from? You know, it's like, where's the population growth at? You know, 'cause it just, but it's, you watch the news and all the stuff you're inundated with, the algorithms and stuff, you think that this minority is way bigger than what it is.
Yeah.
And I think, by and large, a lot of men and women are like the most powerful forces on planet Earth when it comes to societal growth, when it comes to working as a team. Men have strengths, Women have strengths, men have weaknesses, women have weaknesses, and we complement each other.
Well, I think it goes vice versa with, you know, how a woman needs a man. I think men also need women. You know what I mean? If anything, we need that softness
Yes.
of a woman. We need, you know, that you know, tempered down personality to kind of like make us more even kill. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So without and obviously we need them to procreate.
well, soft, like femininity, softness, nurturing. Nurturing is like, what does a man know about raising an infant to 1 year old? I don't have the equipment to do that, you know, but that's, and who is it that told me this, that women raise babies to boys, men raise boys to men.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, I'm not built to raise a baby. I mean, we can figure it out, we can do it, but for the most part, babies thrive best with the mom at early stages of life.
Well, it also goes into as far as like daycares or like if you have a nanny or something like that. Are you going to leave your child with a man? No.
Nope.
Nobody on the planet Earth would ever do that. Now, you know, you could leave your child with like your dad or something like that.
Yeah.
But you're not going to take your child to a facility somewhere or have some random dude come in your house and watch your kid. You're never, ever going to do that. And men just don't have, this is going to sound real bad to say, and there's probably going to be men pissed off about this too, but men just don't have that same emotional, like strong emotional bond with kids as what a woman does. It's just, that's just how it is.
Yep.
I mean, we're biologically made that way.
And it's like in common sense is being flushed out of society these days. And you have people that try to subscribe to these new ideas where it's, you know, men are supposed to be protectors. And then you have some females that, oh, we don't subscribe to that. It's like, okay, so you're walking down an alleyway at night after you leave a movie or something, and a guy with a knife jumps out. You're going to jump in front of your dude because you don't believe in him being a protector and take on this knife-wielding guy?
Yeah.
Or you're going to duck behind him and instinctually throw him in front of you? And if he doesn't jump in front of you, how attracted are you going to be now to that guy that didn't protect you?
Attraction is lost instantly.
Yes. So it's, you know, there's so much of what is pushed today sounds good, but isn't reality.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't fight biology. There's just so many things that have been bred into us over the years from the dawn of time that are just universally true.
Mm-hmm.
And things have been flipped on their head in this clown world, so to speak, that we live in, that you can't state reality anymore. It's offensive to somebody, or somebody gets upset about it, or well, that's how things have always been done. We need to do things new ways. Okay? Where's all the female frontline soldiers at?
Well, I actually heard this question posed. I can't remember if it was a podcast or something else that I listened to, or if I was talking to somebody.
Mm-hmm.
But they were basically asking a woman, like, if somebody came by and stole your purse, would you find the man more attractive if he just let it go and your purse got stolen, or would you find it more attractive that he runs down, beats the shit out of the dude and gets your purse back?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
And you could just hear like so much backpedaling.
Yep.
Because they didn't want to condone the violence, but at the same time they thought that was more attractive, that he went and beat the dude up and got your purse
and protected
back.
you. Yeah, and stood up for you. Yes. Mm-hmm. So let me tell you this, or let me ask you this. What do you think now in 2023 in the new age with inflation and how expensive things are? Where do you stand on traditional gender roles, and how are you as far as women should not work, period, if the man can provide, or we kind of do about 50-50 and I still make most of the decisions?
Okay, I'm going to start with the the very beginning of this, like before you're even in a relationship, okay? So my view, and this is a view that I've grew into over time as I've become more successful, started making more money, things like that, and just understanding how women's minds work. But I've came to the conclusion that you honestly shouldn't even get into like a super serious relationship. I'm not saying don't date and don't be in a relationship. I'm saying something to where you're like trying to settle down. I don't think you should be settling down with anybody until you're financially able to pay the bills yourself without her help. Now, I understand the whole inflation and everything, and I understand a lot of people are 50-50 nowadays and all that stuff. But the thing about it is, you go into a relationship 50-50, and then down the road, you know, say you're making a significant more amount than what she is, or, you know, she drops back, you know, a little bit to take care of the kids or whatever. The problem with going into a relationship 50-50 is that gives her more control in the relationship than what she needs, because now she feels like an equal partner to you. And you should be equal partners, but on different fields, different playing fields, if that makes sense. Like, women have, you know, what they should contribute to a relationship. And I think a man should more monetarily contribute to the relationship than more so anything else, honestly. But the thing about it is like, if you try to take on that more masculine, more, you know, dominating, controlling role as a man in the relationship later on, it's going to come with a lot of scrutiny from her, because she's going to be like, well, I've always paid 50-50 and blah, 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 blah. And, you know, a lot of times in a 50-50 relationship, she's going to want to make decisions on things that a man should be making the decisions on.
It's interesting because you always hear the phrase as a man, what's mine is ours, what's hers is hers.
Yeah.
Generally, women don't share their resources. And that's reality as a guy. So when it comes to paying on the first date, yada, 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 I don't mind that. Me personally, that's not how I grew up. That's not what I believe. Like, if I invite you out, I'm going to pay. If you invite me out, I'm still and probably going to pay. But when it comes to relationships and the house, I had a relationship once. And she was just graduating school, so she was potentially looking to make more money than me, which didn't make me feel insecure as a guy, but still, whenever, because I'm still growing, I'm still getting better, trying to every day. So where I am now is not where I'm going to be in 2 years or 5 years, such and such. But even with me making less potentially in this situation, because it didn't work out, but with what I made, I had planned things out to where I could cover the house, I could cover the bills for the house, car payments. I had everything covered with some leftover extra. Didn't have a lot left over, but some. But I took on pretty much all of the bills. And then when I framed it to her, I said, whatever you make, let's just say if it's 50,000. Okay, well, let's save half of what you make. So now 25. 25,000 isn't a lot, but with no bills, it's plenty. And so you can just, you're 25, have fun with it. Whatever. Whatever. Pay for your vacations, buy your clothes, your bags, whatever you want. The other 25, let's save. So all the bills are taken care of. I have some extra. Your 25, you're saving. And then out of your 25 that you're spending, okay, if you want to save some more, if you want to pay some things off faster to help, cool, awesome. But for the most part, I'm not expecting it. So say we're together 3 or 4 years. Well, now your income is growing, my income is growing. Some of the bills are paid off. Now we've got 80 to 100K sitting in the bank. We want to have kids. Well, now I can already take care of the bills. We have cash in the bank. So if you want to take a year or 2 years off when we start having kids to be home with the kids and kind of build the bond and whatnot, now we don't have to adjust our lifestyle. And I had never really explained it to that extent really well at the time. And then once I did, she was just, what do you mean? The things didn't end up working out, but that was my thought process.
Yeah, yeah.
And, you know, I think if you can both work and work as a team, and that's a great example to me of working together, building up a nest egg, and then living the life that you want. Because a lot of women wait at the finish line for the guy to finish and then pick the winners.
Yeah.
So you have your athletes, you have your successful businessmen, powerful guys that make a lot of money. They get their pick of the litter when it comes to women.
Well, see, that's the problem. Most women are all vying for the same top guys. So then, like, all the other guys are just left in the dumpster. Well, but the problem is then women want to complain when, you know, they're getting cheated on. But guess what? Those dudes have all the hottest women coming after them because they're successful, you know, good looking, you know, probably over 6'2" or whatever. You know what I mean? So it's always the same group of guys that these women are going after. But then on the flip side of that, the women want to complain about, well, I can't find a good guy and all this stuff. It's because you're going for the wrong one.
Yep. But because, like, you don't give the good guys the time of day.
Exactly.
You know? And it was, I forget what I was watching. I think it was one of the podcasts. It might have been whatever podcast. I'm not 100% sure. But the guy posed a question to the panel of girls that were sitting there about an idea for an app that he had. Because women these days, they go for the bad boys, and they're cheered on by other women to go for the bad boys, even though they don't stick around, they don't commit. You know, it's bad for them in every way, but they go for the shiny thing.
Yep.
So the idea for the app, he said, what if there was an app to where every guy that you matched with, your dad had to approve that guy?
That'd be hilarious.
It's hilarious. It's funny to think about, but the topic of the conversation was back in the day when, you know, because feminists talk about, women didn't have their own agency and, you know, the dad had to select the mate. Well, the dad selected the mate because men can sniff out bullshit in other men in a way that females can't a lot of the times.
Also, he's going to pick the one that's going to be able to provide and protect you the best.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So
yeah,
it's not like it's a bad thing.
So that's why marriages were the way they were back in the day. I mean, my mom and dad, they didn't get picked by their grandparents for each other, but, you know, couples that have been together 30, 40, 50, 60 years, that's kind of how it was.
Yeah.
You know, you had to get approval from the dad, and he would sniff out, how good is this guy for my little girl?
Yeah.
And a lot of times, like, there might have been somebody that the daughter wanted, dad didn't approve of. What about this guy? And it was successful. Might not have been perfect, but not every relationship is perfect. And a lot of people get in relationships.
See, I'm kind of traditional on that whole thing. So I still believe that you should still reach out to the father. Like, say you're wanting to take it to the next step of marriage and all that stuff. I still believe out of respect, you should call up dad or have a meeting with them, you know, go and shoot guns at the range or something, have a conversation, whatever.
But these days, it's not as in depth, though.
Like, you know, can I take your daughter's hand in marriage? Like, I think that's the most respectful thing you could possibly do. Yeah. And a lot of people aren't that way these days. They just kind of like jump into things. You hear about these Las Vegas weddings where like
well, it's like even talking about the rate of single motherhood, right? There's not a dad to call. Really, you think about it.
No.
So and it's so bad for society how things have become, where it's the government incentivizes people to not be in marriages anymore.
Yeah, but the single motherhood thing, a lot of that has to do with women. Women initiate 80% of the divorces. So it's most of okay, first off, men are going to try everything they can to keep a relationship together. Men don't want to have to go through that for the most part, because they're losing more than what the woman is. Most of the time, if it's a divorce, you're married, the woman's going to
clean house,
come up. She's going to be boosted up in society now. And then you're going to hear, all her girlfriends talking about, oh, you did it finally, you left them, all this other stuff. But come to find out, he was providing for you the whole time. He created the lifestyle y'all had together. He basically gave up himself to give you kids, and then you just took it all away from him just because, basically, like what you were saying, they just want the next new shiny thing.
Yep.
They're always going to look to upgrade if they get the relationship is too complacent, or
the Chads and Tyrones out there that swoop in. Yep.
No, that's the thing though. They'll and this is a big thing. Like, I was just talking about this with a few friends the other day, but like these dudes that'll bring their wives or their girlfriends into the warehouses to work, like get them jobs there. Next thing you know, they're banging half the warehouse.
Well, it's like,
and like, it may have never happened before, but you're bringing her into a pack of wolves.
Yep.
Like, you're just asking for disaster, and it's happened so many times. Many times.
It's like that story a couple months ago, where that female officer, I forget where she was, might have been Tennessee.
I think it was Tennessee.
Was having sex with like half of the officers there while she was married. Yep. And now this whole like cuckold, phenomenon that's going on with these dudes that they're getting off on watching their girlfriends and wives sleep with other men.
Cup like 22.
Dude, I will never subscribe to that. Will never. And that's not how we're designed to be. And there's just certain things that they might not be pleasant to talk about in society these days. They might not be pleasant to acknowledge the reality of it. Like, I don't think any dude that is truly in love with his woman wants to see her pleasured by another man.
Hell no.
At all.
What the hell?
And I can't, like, I don't judge, to each his own. That's not for me.
No, I judge on that. Hell no.
But
there ain't no damn way.
Yeah, I don't understand that. But
I don't think you respect yourself as a man if you're letting that happen. Like, there's no way you can respect yourself if you're letting your wife or your girlfriend go get railed by some other dude. Like, in front of you, by the way.
Yeah. It just, like the weird guy in the corner, like, oh yeah. Like, no. Mm-mm.
Yeah, especially if he's the one filming it too. Like, come on, bro. That's a little strange.
Yeah. A little bit, yeah. Yeah. Getting back to the gender roles things, I think I understand why they exist, because there's just things that men are better at and more in tune with. There's things that women are better at and in tune with, and it's not a bad thing. It's Andrew Tate actually gave this example talking about it. He was like, if I'm an accountant and I want to start a business, say with a tailor, okay, well, I'll get the tailor to make the suits, I'll do the taxes, I'll do the money, and we have a great successful business. But now you want to go 50-50. Okay, now you got the tailor doing half the tailoring, half the accounting, and the accountant doing half the tailoring. Well, the suits ain't going to fit and be worth the shit, no. And the taxes are going to be all screwed up.
Right.
So it's like, that's a very simple analogy, but it shows like there's some things that men do that women shouldn't do, can't do, well, and vice versa.
Kind of like bouncing off of that. So I believe, like, in a relationship, if a man gets to a point to where he's successful, has businesses, things like that, I don't believe in going into business with your significant other, but I do believe in her helping you in any way to bring that business up. Maybe, hire her as like an employee or something like that.
Question: do you view marriage as a business?
It should be.
I mean, what are you getting at with that? I mean, I feel like marriage in itself is a business transaction, though.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's all monetary. I mean, everything in a relationship is monetary in the end, isn't it? Really?
To some extent, yeah. I guess depends on what you want out of the relationship. But I was curious about the question because like you shouldn't go into business with your family, right? But marriage kind of essentially is best looked at as a business sometimes, which is where like prenups and stuff come from. And you have the contract with the government, so to speak, the marriage certificate. So it's like, how much do you think you need to protect yourself these days in the business of marriage?
Well, I think a man would be stupid in today's times not to get a prenup. I mean, what's your view on a prenup?
I support them, to be honest. I think it just protects you as a man because the courts are so slanted toward the man is just there to facilitate the paycheck for the female. And no matter what she does, she can leave at any time. He could give her everything that she wants and she still may never be happy and still leave. But say it might be after 15 or 20 years after he's got a successful business and, you know, can take his kids from him and can get alimony and all these other things. So I don't think it's smart to not have one. And it also tests her level of love and commitment to you because, hey, this is a prenup. I'd like for you to sign it. It's no big deal. If she makes it a big deal, I think she's playing you.
Well, see, I'll play a little bit of devil's advocate here for you, and I'm not necessarily saying I agree with what I'm about to say. So, a lot of times when you ask them for a prenup, they're going to be like, "Well, if we end this relationship, or I'll just speak like I'm the woman. Well, if you divorce me, what am I going to be left with?"
So in that instance, generally, men don't leave relationships. So, 80% of divorces are initiated by women these days, and I think the divorce rate is 52%, something like that.
Yeah, it's up there.
So, statistically, I'm at a disadvantage. And I talked about this with my dad once upon a time, and he's, old school. Him and my mom were together for forever, and it caught him off guard, just the sound of it. And I was like, Dad, you're going to jump out of a plane, right? Going skydiving.
Yeah.
They told you there was a 52% chance, up to an 80% chance that your parachute wasn't going to open. You going to jump out the plane? Well, no. Okay. So, picking a woman as a man is probably the most important decision you're ever going to make in your life. So, if she truly loves you and respects you, she's going to do what she can to make the relationship work as you are with her. It's what the marriage vows are. That's what the promise that you make to each other is. So you shouldn't go into it thinking that it's going to fail, but you have insurance on everything else.
Right.
So it's like, as long as you do what you're supposed to do for me, I'm going to do what I'm supposed to do for you. I'm going to honor these vows. I want you to honor your vows. I'm going to take care of you. We're going to grow. We're going to have an amazing life. But if you decide to leave, since statistically speaking, women are the ones that call it quits more so than men. Okay,
By
you can
a
leave.
Significant margin.
Yes, but there's everything in life has a price, has a cost. And if you decide to leave one day, say you're Bill Gates and you're about to put Microsoft on the map, right? The marriage is rocky, our relationship is rocky. Well, this is where I'm going. You can leave if you want to.
Yeah.
But the cost of you leaving is going to be, okay, well, now I'm not going to take you on this ride with me.
Right.
So
you're going to lose this lifestyle.
Yeah. So I think a woman that truly desires you and is truly with you and loves you, it won't be a thing to her. And if she's not, if she has an end game, I'm going to marry this guy for 10 years. I'm going to marry this guy for 10 years, this guy for 10 years. I'm going to get what I can out of all these people for me and be selfish, then I think it's a backstop to that.
Yeah.
You know, because you don't want to open yourself up to that.
Yeah.
And expose, I guess, yourself to that risk. So it's kind of a way to, okay, well, if you don't want to sign it, cool, don't sign it. But I'm out.
Yeah.
And if you're really about me and you're going to help me grow, which by helping me grow helps us grow, then I'm going to make sure you're taken care of in perpetuity and you're going to have an amazing life. So I think it's a great test for a partner.
Yeah. I've seen people without prenups get absolutely destroyed. And it's not just from, you know, them taking, you know, what the man had built up, but also if y'all got kids together, dude, I mean, that's just, they're basically double dipping at that point.
Yeah.
Because now they're taking you for, you know, half of what you built up, and then they're taking you for child support too.
Yeah.
Because 9 times out of 10, the woman's gonna have the kids.
Yep.
After a divorce, so or you split up, or
especially
whatever.
Like no fault divorces.
Yep.
Oh, horrible, horrible. Like, you know, like you get up every day, you go to work, you buy a house, you got a kid or two, got her cars, a great life. Don't have everything that you absolutely want, but you have a great life nonetheless. And after 15, 20 years, she decides, hey, I'm done.
Yep. Well, see, the thing is, I think a lot of these women, you know, they're built, or their whole mindset is, I want to live my life on experiences. And they're not thinking about how much time and effort men are putting into work and what am like, especially nobody wants to live inside my brain, because I'm always thinking about what's the next thing I can do to be better, or make more money, or whatever. Like it's constantly, it's like gears just.
What's what I talked about earlier. It's like they waited the finish line to pick the winners. They don't care about the journey that got you there.
Yeah.
Like, okay, this guy's he's got a nice suit on, he looks good, takes care of himself, has a fancy car. They don't care how he got to that point. Fancy car, fancy house, charisma, charming personalities. He's masculine, he's authoritative. They don't care how he got there.
Yeah.
Say it took him 15, 20 years of struggle to get to that point.
Yeah.
They don't care about the 15 or 20 years. They just care about how he looks right then in that moment.
Well, one thing that to go back on that Dave Chappelle thing I was talking about earlier, one of the things he said in that same rant was talking about, you know, men like nice cars and all that, but he said men don't get the nice cars for themselves. They get them to get the women.
Yeah.
I mean,
men don't like cars because of the cars. Men like cars because the women like the cars.
Exactly. Like, I mean,
that clip,
common sense.
That clip is everywhere too. It's like guy pulls up in the Porsche. And, oh, nice Porsche. Like, ha, gotcha, bitch.
Exactly. No, I mean, it's like that, dude. It's just ridiculous. Like they're so material. Like, and this goes back to like the whole emotional and logical argument. Like men, so men think more logical, like what do I need to do to get to the next step? Women are constantly thinking about
how they feel about
what is he doing for me in this very moment, instead of what the future actually holds. Like a man might be thinking about, oh, I need to invest this money here so we can have, you know, this kind of future, this kind of retirement. She's thinking about, well, why isn't he constantly taking me on trips? Why isn't he constantly buying me things? And when it gets to that point to where the wheels start rolling in their heads about why is he not providing me all this material stuff, they're going to start looking for the next dude that will.
Especially with social media, they have so many options in their DMs. Athletes, celebrities, you know, people that are somebody, and they have guys that go out and recruit for them, like through Instagram and stuff. Like she might be, you know, a nobody in the Midwest, and like Dan Bazarian, for instance, that's how he does his stuff. He'll have guys that look for females for him, and hey, do you want to come out, you know, model for my cannabis thing that he does? And he's always surrounded by gorgeous, beautiful women.
Well, they've actually done a test to where they set up like a below average looking chick on Instagram and a successful, good looking dude.
Yep.
dude, she had like 50-1
Yeah.
DMs.
Yeah, they did that on Tinder too.
I was like, that's just absolutely insane. Like, men have no chance in this
None,
life.
none. Like an average, below average woman will get way more attention than a male model will get, almost.
It's crazy, man.
And even still, like, the burden of performance is still on the man. Like, yeah, you could be a good looking dude, but if you say the wrong thing, if you don't conduct yourself well, if you don't come across with charisma, it's going to turn her off. So it's like, you could be nice to look at, but still, like, I think these days there's so many things that women look for to disqualify a guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I had a girl that she didn't like me because of my mannerisms and my personality.
Okay.
So, like, it was kind of weird to me. She was like, because, for instance, hey, what are you doing? I'm at a Starbucks getting, you're at a Starbucks getting a coffee. That's nice. Just, it was something to say, just conversation.
Yeah.
And basically me stating what she was doing, she took it as I didn't trust her. Exactly. Like, what the, what do you mean? And so it was like just different quirks of my personality she didn't like. And it's like, well, I am who I am. Like, I'm okay. What?
That's wild.
Yeah. But, you know, I've had some doozies.
Good Lord.
But, you know, life goes on, man. And the great thing about this day and age is now there's so much information. There's so many examples to learn from and to figure out how to grow from, you know, whether it's better fitness, better money management, how to deal with women, how to grow, you know, philosophically, your mindsets and stuff. Like, there's so much today that we have access to for free, and I don't think enough people utilize the information, to be completely honest.
Yeah. This is kind of like a double question. So, what have you found to be like the biggest downfall of relationships, and also hand in hand with that, what are the biggest red flags that you think kind of are part of that downfall?
The biggest downfall. I think the biggest downfall of relationships probably has to do with money.
It's always money.
Always money.
As far as the red flags go, though, like what do you think? What do you think the red flags are, as far as like what will kind of like start pushing the man away or pushing the woman away?
Red flags that push the man away. I think red flags that push the man away, if, say, I'm on a date with somebody and she's using language that I might use with a buddy. So if she's like talking like a dude, a lot of cuss words, a lot of dudes and bros and mans and stuff,
right?
Trying to, I guess, be relatable, but it's like, yeah, kind of cringe, you know, like
there. That's a hard one for me, because there's certain chicks that it worked with for me, that like it was attractive in a way.
If she's attractive enough, it's
yeah,
attractive.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. But like it's almost like she's like tomboyish, but she's still like got a lot of feminine qualities, if that even makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. It's kind of hard to explain, but
so the feminine tomboy.
For the most part, I agree with the whole language thing. Like, it can be a major turnoff
because it's not feminine in its nature,
right?
So to speak. Another thing too, like when they jump right to like, what do you do for a living?
Yeah.
Which is AKA like, how much do you make? AKA, how much can you give me?
Exactly.
Pretty much, it's code that you got to break down.
Yeah.
Nothing about, you know, like my life or my values or my family life.
Yeah.
Like what what's your relationship like with your dad? What
Yeah.
dad? Okay. Check, please. So
Yeah, well, that's a big red flag in itself right there, which, you know, you can't really knock her for that so much, but at the same time, you kind of have to, because a lot of times when these women don't have that father figure in their life, they start taking on more masculine qualities. And it's more so because their mom started taking on more masculine qualities.
And I was listening to a podcast interview about this, and they talked about men don't need women, like the overall quote. Well, you still have women that don't need men, but what is man? Man is masculine. Man is masculinity. Mm-hmm. So you have a lot of women that don't need men, so they're single moms. Well, they have to step up and do what the man would do. Yeah. They would have to earn, they would have to provide, they would have to provision, protect for their offspring, so to speak. So they become masculine without really realizing it. Mm-hmm. And then that masculinity is taught to the daughter in that instance, or the son in that instance. So if it's the daughter, then I think she's going to push the masculine on her daughter. Like, don't be like me, make your own money, do for yourself, don't ever rely on a man, you can do it by yourself. Yeah. And then if it's a son, then they have, like, I forget what the term is, it's like husband son or something like that, where like single moms raise sons to kind of take the place of the husband, so to speak. Right. So it's like you have these women that don't ever let their son grow up and become a man. They always want to have their thumb on the scale and keep him around. Like, if say he starts talking to a girl, she's going to try to sabotage it in some way because she wants the son to help her in her life.
She's going to be overly involved in y'all's relationship.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. So that's a big thing where a female is too masculine, because if they, and you hear this sometimes too when women are interviewed, like, I want a man that's, that lets me be feminine. It's like, like, you're not really gonna turn off your masculinity with that one guy. Like, you're gonna constantly push.
They'll be like, well, I'll be feminine for the right guy.
No, no
bullshit.
No, because you're gonna turn off how you've been, your entire life, just like that. It doesn't happen that way.
It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
Nope. And it's so weird, because a lot of women these days, what they value in men, they do for themselves. Yeah. And they eventually, over time, end up becoming themselves the man they'd want to be with. Mm-hmm. And then they get to 30, 32, 35, and they can't figure out, where's all the good men? I can't find a man. You have become the man you want to be. Mm-hmm. And a man, especially if you're making $100,000 as a female, you're wanting a guy that's making 115 plus. Well, that guy making 115 plus, he could get you and all the way down to 18. Yeah. If you're 35, let's just say. And it's maybe somebody at 21 or 22 or 23 isn't going to have all the life experience, all the baggage that you're going to have. Like, y'all are attracted to that. But men aren't attracted to the same things that women are attracted to. And for whatever reason, people cannot understand that, which is why so much of the manosphere has exploded. Yeah. And it's so controversial, because you have so much of society, and what feminism is pushing is that men and women are equal. And then now we have the highest divorce rates we've ever had. We've had the most women unhappy in life. Mm-hmm. On SSRIs, yep. Most women in therapy and stuff. So we have all of the stuff that they have basically raised themselves up to be since, the feminism movement and all of that, equality and civil rights and everything. To fast forward to now, you're the most free, the most educated, the most liberated you've ever been. You're the most unhappy ever.
Yeah. I mean, they're not... This is going to sound so bad, but women are not meant to be in the workforce, and they're not happy to be in the workforce, and that's why they're on so much antidepressants now and everything else.
Before we wrap this up, I kind of want to circle back to the beginning where, I said I want to do that experiment with you. Mm-hmm. And so basically what the experiment was, I already basically
tried it on myself. And a few weeks ago, which it's rare that I even go out, so but I really wanted to try this. And so basically, I found some girls at a bar.
They're typically there sometimes.
And kind of like, sparked up conversation with them and everything. And next thing you know, I kind of wanted to jump into like debating them kind of on the topics that we talked about.
Testing the waters.
Because eventually, we're going to migrate into having panels of girls on and things like that, which I guess we haven't really expressed that. But eventually that's kind of what the podcast will evolve into. And we'll have other guests on just besides panels of girls and things like that. But, that's kind of what we want to get into, kind of to where we can bounce ideas off the girls, see what their views are on it and kind of give our take on it. And,
have open dialogue and discussion.
Exactly. It's not like we're going to be out here just, bashing women. You know what I mean? Like, I love women. I won't want to live in the world without them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But I think there's been so much breakdown in society just of communication in general and just being able to just talk to people.
Well, degeneracy is really the word for it.
Degeneracy and disrespect, leading with emotions, and it's proving to be detrimental.
Yeah. But so what I did, talked to them, started, debating on, certain issues of gender roles, things like that. And it was so funny because...
Did you use any buzzwords? Any emotion provoking? Do you need a man? How dare you?
Oh, I touched on everything. It was pretty enlightening though, because at first they were like super combative about the whole thing, every single second of it. And then I kind of flipped the script on them. I was like, hey, by the way, I have a podcast that's launching soon. You guys should come on the podcast. Then you could just see their face lighten up.
Attention?
Oh,
really?
Oh, we can be on a podcast. That sounds like a fun time.
Yeah,
We'll be all about then without me even asking, they're handing me their business cards with their email, phone number,
all the information you could want.
I'm like, come on, man! It's just crazy how quick that script flipped, because all of a sudden they thought I was somebody of status. They were like, okay. Oh, and let me not leave this part out. The first thing they ask is, how much you going to pay us to be on there?
Of course. What am I getting out of it?
I was like, I'm not paying you anything. For one, you're getting your little bit of fame, being on there, and the idea, where they're benefiting from is not only us. I don't even want to say educating them on things, but kind of so they can understand what men really think. You know what I mean? And then on top of that,
there's a lot of women that don't know what men want.
Right. No, I don't think any of them do.
For the most part,
there's some rare ones out there, like Pearl.
From
the Pearly
whole,
Things podcast,
I guess,
but
trad wife, kind of thing that's popping up. But for the most part, the women just have to exist, and there's men that have fed into, just because you exist, let me give you, trying to win favor, the whole beta, the simp, and all that.
The problem is now, though, it's almost like, and I'm probably going to rub some people the wrong way when I say this, but it's like, for instance, like if a black person is a Republican, they're called Uncle Toms.
Oh my God, the chastise.
Instantly.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But now women that are doing the things that men actually want, now they're called pick-me girls.
Yep.
It's like, man, like you can't win.
It all falls under this idea that you're princesses and you can have anything that you want. Everything in life has a cost and everything has a trade-off. There a lot of times, like, there's no solutions, there's only trade-offs. It's like you can you can hop on the carousel when you're in your 20s, when you're in your peak years, when you're the most attractive. You can go to college. You can focus on the career. You can focus on making partner and having some nice handbags and taking some extra trips. Cool. Whenever you hit 35 or 37 or 40, now what? You know, like the guy's supposed to be there. I thought I could have all this and have the guy I want too. No, because most men don't want successful women in that aspect.
Right.
So it's like they talk about it all the time. You know, the millionaire will date the McDonald's girl.
Mm-hmm.
But
absolutely,
it's true.
100%
like,
true.
If you understand my needs, if you are peaceful in my home, I have way more incentive to give that woman the time of day than the boss chick who's career oriented, because if she's career oriented, you're never going to come first. It's always going to be her. And children, if you want kids, Robert De Niro just had a kid. He's like 70 years old. He's still pumping them out. Like,
exactly.
You'll never see a 70-year-old pregnant female that's healthy, that's having a healthy pregnancy.
No.
It just, so much of what is pushed today in society for women is to sacrifice their best years when they're at their peak sexual market value. Heard this time and time again, to chase the career, to go to college, and they end up sacrificing that man that they want.
Well, the thing is that their value is actually increased with less. And what I mean by less, less bodies, less people they've slept with, less almost, I guess, less income, less of a career, because now you're devoting more of your time to the man.
Well, it's because if you really break it down, like, how come strip clubs aren't 50-50? This whole equality movement, you know, men and women are the same. Where's all the 50-50 male and female strip clubs? There's not. There's Chippendales really for guys, but that's not even really a thing anymore.
Yeah. They still have like the traveling ones, but it's not like
I mean, how many strip clubs are just here in our city in Jacksonville? What, 7 or 8, maybe more? So it's, men are visual and sex sells. Women are beauty objects, whether you want to admit it, whether it's uncomfortable to hear. Men love to look at beautiful women.
Well, I mean, that's their main
agency.
Yeah, it's their main agency. Like, yeah, it goes a little bit beyond that, but first and foremost, it's the beauty. I mean, it really is.
Yep.
But it actually goes beyond that too, because it's like we were talking about before, where the ugliest chick could go into a club or whatever, and she can go home with somebody.
Well, I mean, the Tinder experiment, right? The dating app experiment is 20% of the guys, and it's probably actually less than that, are getting attention from 80% of the women, because all the women want a certain type of guy.
Yep.
So if you fall within the 6 foot, 6-pack, $100,000, if you fall within that range, the Chads, the Tyrones, you're going to get your pick of whatever women.
Yeah.
But majority of men are invisible to most women. So it's like, if you have 80% of women going after the top 20% of guys, then 80% of men are going after 20% of women.
Yep.
And, but, you know, all it takes is for them to get one DM from somebody with a blue check, say they're a 4 or a 5, just average. Now they're going to think, oh, well, this guy notices me. I'm not going to pay attention to all these Joe Blows over here, so they don't give them the time of day. And then, now what, you're mid-30s, 40s. Where's all the good guys? I'm tired of being cheated on. Well, y'all are all having sex with the same dudes. Why would they want to settle down? Like, if men love sex and men want access to sex, back in the day, marriage was the way to secure that. You want to sleep with a woman that you're attracted to, you're in love with. To get that, let me put a ring on it. So now she has the commitment from me, and I have the sexual access to her.
Yep.
That doesn't exist anymore.
Nope. But yeah, that's one thing I want to test the waters, you know, with you. Let's like going out together and actually recruiting these girls like organically, you know, starting off with. Hopefully, eventually,
we'll have a whole crew that could do that for us, so we don't have to, waste a bunch of time going out there. They get
Please come on a podcast, please. Spare some change.
Spare some change for the poor. You know what I mean? No,
Cream free.
no, other than that, I think on the next podcast we'll probably talk a little bit about mindset and fitness and
Yep.
take it from there.
Because I think the basis of kind of what masculinity is protective, is physical prowess.
Yep.
And men back in the day used to want to be big and strong and physically capable, and now they're a bunch of skinny, fat, just lazy asses, man. And it just everybody's obese, and people are propped up and celebrated for it. Mediocrity and obesity. And I think mastering your diet, your gym routine is the base building block for everything else in life.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even for me, doing the fitness thing, the bodybuilding show that I did, the discipline I learned from controlling my food cravings carried over into other aspects of my life that I didn't anticipate.
Right.
But it ended up being a fantastic thing.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
definitely a lot to
it'd be an
talk about
interesting
with that.
episode for
Yep.
sure.
Yep. What's in for? Like, share, subscribe, comment. What else are we supposed to say? I think that's the script, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Feedback. Plenty of feedback.
Yeah, give us as much critique as possible so we can
Yes.
improve on each episode. And,
Yep.
I'll keep pushing the whole make sure you press the subscribe button because that honestly is going to help us, get to different levels on platforms like, YouTube and all that, to where, we'll be able to do live chats and things like that. So we look forward to it.
All that starts with is one. That's all we need. We need one, and then two, and then it's a game of doubles, man.
All right, man.